Okay. Alright, howdy doody. Back with another one of these super exciting videos on you guessed it, the Hoover Dam. It's starting to look like I'm obsessed. Dan is truly crazy. Look at him. He's psychopathic on this Hoover Dam thing now. Okay. You know where I'm going. If you've watched my other videos, you know where I'm going with this. You know why I'm looking at this. Initially, I think it was the idea of Ghostbusters and Dam Busters. And this symbol here, I'm like, I got to watch that. And I've made a reference also to do with Ghostbusters in one of them other films about Kim Jong Un and the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. And I can't remember what I looked up in that video. I haven't had a chance to go back and look at it, but I probably will go over the same stuff again. I don't even know what I mentioned and what I'd come across before on that. But I know that was something that just... The idea of when they pick the destructor, when Ray accidentally picks the destructor, or destructor, I don't know how to say that word, but there is... It just rang for me. Because that's about the only, I don't know, so-called nuclear threat there is in the world right now. The so-called unstable state, you know what I mean? That's the story they like to portray. Anyway, let's just look at the Hoover logo again so we can see where we're going. You know, we've got this diagonal line here. You know, it's the ring of Saturn on the Ghostbusters. We've got the same diagonal line, and of course this one, Cologne or Cologne FC. We got the same thing here. The same image that they projected up on the Hoover Dam. Well, let's see. Hang on a minute. Let's not get into that one yet. That's interesting as well. So this Ghostbusters business. Let's go back to the start of this real quick. This is the scene where they're up trying to fight Gozer or whatever, and Ray inadvertently picks the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man as the destructor. Okay, what happens at the start of this little bit of this scene is right at the start of this. Well, I mean they've already been up there for a little while because they've already had the bit about Ray. When somebody asks you if you're a god, you say yes. It's hilarious, that little bit. But this part here kicks off with this thing falling off of here, and this is, if we can get a close-up of it, this thing breaks off. Hang on a minute. This thing, the ram's head. So we've got this link to Abraham, the Ramadan, the ram's head, the Colon FC reference with the ram on the goat on the side of the. I'm just lumping all that together. The goat, the ram. You know, it's all the same thing. You know, the womb. Anyway, so we kick off with that, and then they have the little bit, you know, where Gozer the Gozerian talks to him and says, choose the form of the destroyer, or the destructor, sorry. And but I need to get to this little bit here because this is very interesting. Because of course, I don't know what I about did when I heard this, but I was like, really? You just can't write this stuff. Anyway, let's get to 1:10 here. Okay, I'm just going to play this just a little bit. I might have to stop and start it a couple of times and talk between it, but I'll play a second or two so we can get an idea of what he's saying. Because you won't believe this. Listen.
J. Edgar Hoover will appear and destroy us, okay? So empty your head.
J. Edgar Hoover will... So there, you know, he's just given the example. If you think of J. Edgar Hoover, and I mean, J. Edgar Hoover will appear and destroy us, you know, you just can't write this stuff. I tell you what, Anyway, of course, Ray doesn't clear his head. He lets the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man pop in there. And so, you know, interesting. What else do we have here? 450, there's something interesting said. Let's go straight to 450. Oh, here we go.
Worth 11.5 a year.
So Winston says this job ain't worth 11.5 a year. So a reference to November the 11th. Reference to 55. But that November 11th, the 5th of November, sorry. The 5th of November is, another, is a balance point there between the 5 and the 11. If you go at the clock face, the 5 sits directly opposite the 11. It balances it. So, and if you, stick your months on there as well, you'll come around and if you put them in the right orientation, November happens to sit on the number 5 on the clock face. If you put December right at the bottom, start on December right at the bottom and then go around. So December would sit actually on 6, but it would be opposite 12 as well. Anyway, I don't know if that makes sense, but November. Remember, the 5th of November is a, it's a balanced number, and it's, if you look at my key chart, my Cross-Lorraine key chart, with all those other numbers, 5 and 11 are in that column that balance. So anyway, enough waffle, Dan. Move on. Is there anything else interesting in here? Oh yeah, there is. What's at 456? I put it down for some reason. Oh no, it's not right there. It's before that. Hang on a minute. And I'm somewhere right here. When they're sat down talking. Here we go.
How?
Egon. Let's go.
We'll cross the streams.
Cross the streams. This is how they're going to destroy the fiction by crossing the stream. They say cross the streams. But this is what you've got to do. You've got to go from one side of the stream to the other, one side of the river to the other. This is what the bridge is for. It's what the Golden Gate Bridge does. You go from one side of something to the other side of something. It's just another nice little reference there. It's like Wuhan. You've got to go from I can't remember what it was now, Wuchang to Hangong, or I can't remember what the two cities are called, but you've got to go from Wu to Han. You've got to cross the Yangtze River, or whatever it's called. This whole thing kicked off with that. It's about crossing from fiction, back to nature, back to the material world, where there's a set of rules that everybody can follow, where people can't do wrong. Well, they can still do wrong to others, but if everybody followed the rules, it would be a much better place, wouldn't it? Anyway, what did I want to say about the rest of this? There's nothing really much more interesting. They end up crossing the streams, but what they end up doing is they end up combining their little proton packs. A proton is a what? A proton is a hydrogen ion, isn't it? And these little mini nuclear reactors they've got, what happens in the so-called nuclear reaction of a hydrogen ion, I guess? It fuses and becomes helium. So it goes from the number 1 element to the number 2 element. It's the balanced element. It's balancing two things now. Helium, He-Man, He, helium. Okay, we've gone from hydro, from the water, to helium. Sorry, I'm talking with my cursor on the screen. But that's what we've done. You can have a look on your periodic table at that. But that's what happens. That's what happens supposedly happens in the sun. that supposed nuclear reaction. I don't know if it's true or not or what, but again, it's just another metaphor that comes into the conscious, into the vision to teach us about what we're in here, this reality, I guess. That's the way I look at it anyway. You can look at it how you like to look at it. But anyway, no, more interesting stuff with Ghostbusters for sure. I haven't had a chance to just sit and watch the whole film. I will get round to it here one day, because it's sat in the cabinet, and it's been a year or two since I watched it, but the DVD's sat there in the cabinet, so there's no excuse for me not to sit and watch it, apart from the kids have kind of gone off it. Anyway, what do I want to say? Let's go to the Kim Jong Un link now. I can't get a good picture of the old Stay Puft there, but let's find it on here, because that whole idea of the destroyer, or the destructor, sorry, that kind of rang with me before, and Kim Jong Un just popped into my head a bit like Ray. Ironically, a little bit like it popped into Ray's head, the Stay Puft. When I don't know why it popped into my head. Basically, it just popped in there, along with when they were doing their military parade in North Korea there on 10/10 of all dates. Another one of my damn reference dates, I suppose you could call it. But anyway, let's look at this now. I put in Kim Jong Un and marshmallow. That this is the search here, just to see if anything, popped up. And this is what I expected to see. Actually, was something to do with, maybe a packet of, a brand of marshmallows called Jong marshmallows or something, or I don't know, Kim Gong or something marshmallows. That's the kind of thing I was expecting to see. Just some little reference like that, And this is this is one of the things that pops up. North Korea bans popular choco pies, which have a marshmallow filling. That's the kind of thing I expected. Now, I'll tell you what, you can't write this stuff, because look at the amount of stuff. There's just tons of people referencing this, actually. Whether this is put in there deliberately, or whether this is really like stuff that just, like, it popped into my head. I'm just going to try and find a picture. Here's one here now. Look at this. There he is. As the Stay Puft. Look at him here. But this was more interesting, I thought. This is a rabbit. Is there a better one of that says what it is? No, bloody hell, Dan. I don't know what I'm doing here. There was one. Anyway, let's just go back to this one. Anyway, you got this white rabbit. Oh, this white rabbit marshmallow. That if you squish it a little bit, look at it. Happens to look like Kim Jong Un. You just can't write this. Follow the white rabbit, Neo. You just can't. You just can't write it. It's just like, every turn that when I start looking at stuff, look at this stuff. Look at this. Separated at birth. And I think there's two or three. There's several other pictures here of him as the Marshmallow Man. And you get that from him, don't you? You get that. You know what I mean? Anyway, enough said. We had the let's see what I got here. We had the military parade. I don't want any Pet Shop Boys. There's the Proton Pack there. What have we got? What I ought to do is, as I go through it, mind you never know if you want to go back to it. What that is. Hang on a minute. Bear with me. New tab. Oh yeah, I'll get to this one here in a minute. What was this? This is the same. This is the same. Oh, this is just the rabbit here. But you know, I mean, that's a little bit better picture of it. But do you know what I mean? Unbelievable. Maybe I'll put that as my thumb. I'd probably do that as my thumbnail. Because I don't know what all these other ones are. But anyway, moving on to North Korea. Here's a nice little link. This star here. If you remember my other videos, I was talking about Billy Idol. And Billy Idol has a tattoo of, I can't remember the name now, I've got it up. Octobriana, I think it is, something like that. Gosh, Dan. Should it be more oil and tar soup? Yeah, that's something I was thinking about putting on my barn. North Korea. This is the military parade, anyway, that I was just talking about. The 10-10 military parade there, you know, and I mean, oh, geez. My computer right now will not pick this up very quickly because it's running. I got all these tabs open. I got all this other stuff going on. Maybe I'll edit that a little bit out and make the video a little bit shorter. So I'm back if I do edit it out. There you go. But this is Billy Idol's tattoo. If you watch Billy Idol perform, he's definitely putting a bit of Elvis into his act. You know, the hair with this front, you know, rocker look, I guess. I don't know. You know, that sort of the haircut, and if you watch him, he's got this sort of thing that he does with his mouth when he sings as well. It's a bit like that actually. That kind of like that. I don't know what you call it, but it's very Elvisy to me. And we'll get onto Elvis in a minute because it's another very interesting link. But anyway, this bloody thing on her forehead here. This is Octobriana, and this is his tattoo. And of course, I've said about Billy Idol and having a ton of references. He's got a ton of references to the Dam, basically. I mean, Billy Goat Idol, you know. But this star, and again, where do you see that star? Wonder Woman, a very similar looking figure. And this crown is the same crown that's on that penny. You know, that's the corona with that star in the middle. And interestingly, Wonder Woman here is obviously, you know, she's obviously the personification of America, you know. She's Wonder Woman. Miss America. But this bit here, this looks like a drip coming down, splashing back up, or water, you know, that kind of, when you detonate something underwater, this sort of explosion here. I don't know, I haven't really stopped and thought about this too much. It's another crown here again as well, the same as what we've got up here. Just interesting. Something I probably will look into in the future, Wonder Woman. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting that it's a very similar idea to this, similar colours as well, and that thing being in the middle of a bonce there. And I'll tell you one other thing that I haven't had a chance to look at again. Another thing I haven't had a chance to look at, but Pet Shop Boys and the iPet and the OPET thing going on, that festival. I was just thinking, for some reason I was like Pet Shop Boys, and so I watched a few of I've watched a couple of the videos. I got quite a few of the songs on my iPod, but yeah, who uses an iPod anymore? Oh, that's pretty new technology for me. Anyway, this thing occurs in a water park. This whole look, there's the star there again. I mean, the star's in this quite a few times, and it basically takes place in a water park. And the other thing that's referenced a ton in here is they've got the model. Is it Eva Mendes? So we've got the Eve referenced, and boy, there were some other images in here as well that were. We've got the sun there, oh, here's the dude, and we've got this as well. We've got this dude with the star on the forehead again. I mean, and here we've got another one with the star on the forehead. Somebody be shouting at me, "Mark of the beast, it's on the forehead," Anyway, Wet and Wild. Anyway, nothing more to say about that. I'm kind of already fading on this, But anyway, back to the Billy Idol thing and the reference to Elvis. Well, this was something I did want to look at, was Elvis, and I just haven't had time. It's like Elvis, Madonna's on the list. I still haven't looked at Clint Eastwood properly. Even Michael Jackson is on the list as well. There's so many bits and bobs to look at. I just don't have time. I don't have enough time. I've got too much other stuff going on at home. But sorry, don't click off that yet, Dan. I don't know why this hasn't got. Let's just do this one. Let's look at Graceland. Okay, here's Elvis's home when he was still alive, if he's not still alive. Here we go. The Temple of Diana, the White House, again, the clock tower, the same bloody thing. This Greco-Roman temple thing. It's the control center. It's the courthouse at the center of your little area's control system. In the center of your county is one of these that controls everything. We've got the Lions, where Marty lives. Lions Estate, the Lions Gate. Okay. Oh man, it's everywhere. It's just everywhere. Elvis Presley. Check this out. Born 8th of January. Okay. 8th of January, Dan. Where are you going with 8th of January? Oh, here we go. No. Where is he? I've got Gaga up there. That's another one I want to look at. Lady Gaga. I've watched a couple of them. That's not going the right way there. Bloody hell, maybe I don't have him up. Hang on a minute. I thought I did. And this is probably dragging on now. Okay. Scroll down, let's have a look at the birthdays. And I say birthdays because I've mentioned this in another one of my videos. He's got 3 different birthdays. I'll tell you, there's another reference there to birthdays. And I'll just go into it. I haven't got nothing up for it, but I'll go into it in just a second. 8th of January, American records. 8th of January, South Korean records. And 8th of January, North. How can you have 3 different dates? How can it be possible? I don't know. Whatever. I don't know really what that's. The Trinity there, the Trinity of birth. But anyway, the 8th of January is what I was trying to get to. Oh dear. I'll just mention a couple of other things while I'm on this page. Actually, while it's fresh in my mind, I'll just mention what I was just saying about. Hey Shorty, it's your birthday. It's your birthday. We're gonna party like it's your birthday. Yes, it's a 50 Cent reference. And did I mention 50 Cent before in my last video? I can't remember if I actually did mention him in the end or not. But 50 Cent is in that film, just briefly mentioned in just briefly mentioned in Las Vegas, and I think he was mentioned for a reason, of course, to bring light to that. But that idea of it's your birthday, it's time to actually be reborn. So that was his big hit, and then he really didn't have any other big hits apart from one, which was, I think it was called 21 Questions. And so we got a reference to 21, which is, of course, if you're a card player, the place to be playing 21 would probably be Vegas, you know. So a reference to 2021, and the other reference to 2021 has a date for something else to happen, which would be the returning of Odysseus from the Space Odyssey 2001, Dave Bowman returning, because the Odyssey took Odysseus, I believe it was 20 years. He was away for 10 years in the Trojan War, and then it took him another 10 years to get back on his voyage, you know, his the Odyssey, you know. So it's interesting. And the guy that I'm going to talk about here in a second references, and there's a couple of guys that referencing the arrow and shooting the arrow. Well, Dave Bowman is the arrow shooter. That's what Odysseus was. When he got back, he, I mean, was a really good archer. So in order to prove who he was, I don't know how many axe handles. I can't remember how many axe handles, but they lined up a bunch of axe handles. I guess they had an eye at the end of the axe handle. That's how I'm imagining it anyway. And he shoots an arrow through all these axe handles. Right, an almost impossible task, you know, this sort of Robin Hood, impossible splitting the arrow type thing, you know. But I'm going to get onto that here in a minute. That'll pick back. Just keep that in your mind, and I'll pick back up on that in just a minute or two. I don't even know what I'm talking about now, so it doesn't even matter. One more thing I wanted to reference in here. When he went to, I think where did he go? Switzerland to school. So Kim Jong Un went and got a Western education, or I don't know how or European education. I don't know how you want to look at it, but anyway, he got on almost this side of the world look at things. And while he was there, he went under the name maybe. They got Cholpak here, but I think it was not understood whether it was his brother or him. But anyway, this other name, Pak Chol, or I don't think that's Pak Choi. No, it's Pak Chol. And Un Pak or Pak Un. And Pak Un, I was like, oh, it's like it reminded me of Pac-Man again and Tupac, and you know, I mean, it's just weird, isn't it? Just these little links that are just really weird. Well, I'm going to do one more little link with him, and then I'll move on back onto Elvis again. Kim Jong Un. I just said it in my head, and I just thought King John Un, King John Un, King John 1. And this is another thing that I've spoken about before. In my other videos, this idea of the Magna Carta thing, the recognition, the adoption of certain common law things into, the sort of fictional document of the Magna Carta, but this sort of observing common law, which I thought was interesting. This is all to do with King John. It's King John the First, isn't it? I'm assuming it is. But yeah, Kim Jong and King John. I mean, it's so phonetically similar. We got the un and the one is un. I mean, again, you just can't write this stuff. What does King John lose? He loses, and I think I've talked about this before, but he loses Normandy. And Normandy is referenced, like in a ton of Tom Hanks. Even Tom Hanks I haven't had a real chance to look at, but Tom Hanks films and other films. Normandy, no man's land. No man's land. That's the fictional system. That's the thing you've got to get out of. This reference to Normandy, the man with no name. Again, with bloody Clint Eastwood. No Mandy, no man. Oh, he loses no Mandy. So I mean, look at it whichever way, but there's it just references that name and it's lost. The place where you've got to get away from. No man's land. You've got to get out of there. You're going to end up dead in no man's land. That's where people die. People go to die. I don't know what else to say about. Oh, here's another interesting thing. I don't know if I have it up on another tab, but we'll just scroll down to it because we were talking about the penny. And I don't know if this. Oh, bloody hell, Dan. I was talking about the penny the other day, wasn't I? And this, just click on it. It might come up big enough. But look at this. I don't think it'll come up any bigger than that, will it? Oh, a little bit bigger. This is one of his pennies. The triangle on the front and the back. Just, I mean, just these little tidbits of, references. I can't think there was anything else with this guy, apart from just some of these dates, 1199, the 11th of October. This computer's just so had it. It's on borrowed time, this computer. Lord of Ireland. Look at this, the Triple Crown. Now you can go and look at, there's some references to the Triple Crown that another guy was looking at that I've been watching. I'm gonna reference him here in a second, but 1177. More numbers. More numbers. I just sound like a crazy man when I say that, but just the same numbers popping up over and over and over again. Anyway, what else did I want to talk about? Because this video is going to be pretty long, and I apologise. I did have the penny up, look, but we're not going to go to it now. So I think I've done a Kim Jong Un to death. The destructor showing off his, his big nuclear weapons. And and this star popping up. No, it's still not. Look, I might as well just X that. Just get out of it. But this star popping up so much. It's interesting, isn't it? Are we going to have some kind of interaction with North Korea here? That's what I'm wondering now. I really am. And now that they've got these intercontinental nuclear weapons, let's hope none of this nonsense comes to fruition. But again, I have to ask the question to myself sometimes, Dan, should you even be going on about this stuff? Because you're kind of bringing it into, I don't say into being, but it's kind of like, you're making up stories for people to believe. When people believe things, it's not. Maybe it's not the best thing. I don't know how to explain that, but you know where I'm going with it. Should you really project these things into the reality? I don't know. Anyway, this guy that I'm going to talk about now has been doing a lot on the Space Needle. Let's go back to the Space Needle in just a second, because I have his. No, not the Gaga. This guy here. Okay, let me just scroll down a second so you can see who he is. Jurassic Liars 26. He's got some interest. He seems to be more into like the Gematria type stuff. Whereas I'm more looking at kind of I like the more sort of pictorial type stuff, more sort of symbol-y type stuff. But this guy's looking at the more of the numbers and the words and the letters. Anyway, you won't believe this, but if you write the alphabet out normally, you know, A B C D F G blah 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 blah, and then if you put it in reverse, so start at Z and work your way back down to A. See, he's got them paired up. Okay, it's a kind of you know, there's kind of like a key there, or a cipher, or what, I don't know what the correct term for it is, but you know, this gives you a way of, you know, looking at words, I suppose. So he's factored in Elvis into this because he's all about Elvis and the Space Needle, and it's all interesting stuff. And I think it's all linked in with what I'm looking at. But anyway, of course, I haven't had time to look at Elvis, so when I've watched this guy, I've watched a couple of his videos. I've probably watched about 5 or 6, maybe, I don't know. Actually, I've probably watched more than that. I've probably watched 10, but he's got hundreds of videos. Back to the Future. So immediately I went to, I want to see what he's getting out of Back to the Future, and he's talking about the hoverboard scene in this thing, and he anyway does this little code thing, this deciphering here, and these are the words you get out of it. You get, if you pair these two up, you get E goes with V, L goes with O, V goes with E again, I goes with R, and S goes with H. And so you have H, O, V, E, R. So we've got hover, and this is the hoverboard, you know, there's the hoverboard scene there. And he's saying that hover references Elvis. Yes, it does. But it's also interesting, isn't it, that for me it references, and just the way that scene's put together with the whole courthouse thing, you know, the clock tower with the water in front of it, you know, that whole way that's put together references the Hoover. And, you know, is Elvis actually a reference as well back to the Hoover Dam again? And of course, where does Elvis spend most of his time, most of his career? In Las Vegas, the LV, you know. It's interesting, isn't it? Oh dear. You got E, V in there as well, you know. You know, I don't know. But that for me was super mind-blowing again. And where did I want to go with Elvis from there? But anyway, he references, if you go watch his videos, he is into that, and he's into, so we go back to the Space Needle. And so anyway, he basically is predicting, what is he predicting again? He's predicting Trump's assassination, I think, around or to do with Obama's, I think it's Obama's birthday. Anyway, those are the dates and numbers and everything he's seeing. And he's also, he talks about Elvis being projected or shooting through the Space Needle somehow. Well, and he talks about Elvis being the king, and, you know, the king being associated with the crown, you know. And I think he's kind of talking the same language as me. The way I would look at it with the Space Needle thing, and this is super interesting that he's talking about this, because what other place has this? This is Seattle, okay? And of course, if you want to get to this, you're going to have to go across the Golden Gate Bridge and carry on northward bound to get to this thing. And I don't really know what to me though, this is a reference to the control system here. I mean, you've got the eye there, the reference to the eye. You've got the phallus going through, Cleopatra's needle. That same, the obelisk. That kind of idea. The column going through a ring, donut ring at the top here, going through that portal again, being reborn again. And with the needle, you also have the eye of the needle, which, going through that eye again. It's a hard thing to do. What do they say? Putting a camel through the eye of it's as hard as trying to get a camel through the eye of a needle or something like that. I don't know what the saying is. Anyway. Oh, history of the Space Needle. Well, hang on a minute. Before I get onto the history of the Space Needle, let's look at some other Space Needles. Because, and this is, well, actually, hang on a minute. We're back to Cologne again, back to Germany, and this is Cologne, and this is another version of the Space Needle. This tower, this column, one column sticking up through a donut type thing. Hang on, what else have we got for the Space Needle, Dan? No, that's Wonder Woman. I mean, I thought I had all these things up. Maybe I'd put some of these out, but I'll tell you where else has one. Oh, here we are. I put it in Space Needle because I couldn't remember. Stratosphere. I've even been up this bloody thing. And again, this looks to me like it has 3 legs. If the imprint on the ground there is likely to be a Y. A reference to the womb, and shooting out of the womb, through the donut. But this one happens to look more like what it really is, a torch. You could imagine a flame coming out of here. That same thing that the Statue of Liberty holds, that false light. Like the lighthouse. It's not a real. It's a fictional light, the false light. And that idea of following the false light, But what was I going to say about this, which is even more interesting, is that one that's in Cologne got me thinking. It said it was a broadcast tower, and I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what that is, because it's not the same as that. It doesn't have the round bit at the top, but that's what we got at the top of close to where I used to live. It doesn't have that bit on it. It's just a straight up column, I'm like, yeah, broadcast tower. And here's one, St. John's Beacon. And that tells you everything right there. Beacon. The beacon of light. Could be a good thing or a bad thing. The false light. It just all depends on the way that you follow, how you interact with that, yeah, I mean, the false light is the false light, but you've got to be aware of it. I know I'm not making much sense now, but this is what this is a beacon. This emits the radio broadcast, that comes over your TV or whatever, or your radio, or your what will soon be 5G, This is the beacon, the false light, the beacon that controls you. This is another symbol of the control. So when he's saying stuff about, Elvis shooting through there, or things to do with the Space Needle, you can start imagining that Space Needle could end up at some point being destroyed. Even in the history, look, this is the guy that I don't know, I haven't read all this, but I just saw this first bit, and he said the guy that organized the 62 World's Fair traveled to Stuttgart, Germany, and was inspired by the broadcast tower there, had a restaurant. And so they, this idea for the Space Needle, which I guess they built for the World's Fair, maybe, I don't know. And of course, Elvis does a film. This is what the guy says. Elvis does this film with the Space Needle in it. But it's just interesting, isn't it? That beacon, the false beacon again. No, no doubt. I would no doubt, if I was to look through here, I'd probably find some reference to bloody King John and Beaconsfield, which is just up the road from me. But I don't know if there is a reference there or not. But you know, that's all. No, that's all in the same area. I say it's all in the same area. In terms of England, it's miles apart, you know. But for here, it's all where distances are further apart. Seems like all that stuff is lumped in the same area, you know. But no, there isn't anything in here. I wouldn't be surprised though. But anyway, I think I've about done this one to death. I don't think there's anything else I wanted to go through. I mean, that other guy's interesting. I mean, I don't like to recommend people because, you know, he's just got some interesting stuff, you know. And I mean, that hover thing with Elvis was from his channel. So, and of course the Space Needle thing that he references is from his channel. So, you know, that was the guy there. Yeah, this was the last thing. I put this into what year did Jesus die? Because there's an obvious thing here with all this stuff that's going on, and with Princess Diana dying at 97. Was it 97? I think it was 97. And the whole thing of 2,000 years, but it's starting on 2001. And of course, some people will know this because they're intelligent, and some people like me probably didn't know it. That there is no year zero. Okay, and I was just, don't know why even, is there a year zero? I don't even know why I decided to check it, but I was just wondering, you know, is that why, you know, yes, that's why 2001, all these events, I think, we've done 2,000 years. What's 2,000 years? Roman numerals, MM. We're back to blooming Masonic madness, you know, MM. What does MM stand for? Something to do with the Masons. But, you know, that's MM, you know, 1,000 and 1,000. 2,000. Mary Magdalene. That's the sons of Mary, you know. Or is it the sons of Mary the Mother? MM again. You know, even David Icke's in on the MM thing, the Moon Matrix, you know. It's all the same thing, MM. Actually, is there a Masonic Matrix as well? Oh, I don't know. It's getting late. But anyway, obviously. Oh yeah, that was another reference to MM. M's in the middle of the alphabet. M is the 13th letter, I think, isn't it? If you go backwards, it's the 14th letter. Something like that. I've got a sheet here somewhere with it on. But, you know, again, the 13. Friday the 13th, you know, the 13 again. And the M being MM would be a balanced letter, because it happens that it would be balanced actually with N. MN, looking at this now, that looks like it'd be right. It's the 13th letter. There's 26 letters in the alphabet. If you go, yeah. Well, that's interesting as well, isn't it? MN is in the middle of the alphabet. The two letters that are balanced in the middle of the alphabet, M and M and N, man. And also MM is also a balanced side of the is a balance in the alphabet as well. So you're at a balance point with MM again. Oh, it just goes around and around in circles, just endless little links. But anyway, what I was saying was so the dates that are coming up, what we're seeing is a direct, I think a direct reference to, the rebirth of, Christ or Jesus, or however you want to look at that, because according to, people, scholars, and where they think the time at which Jesus was born, which actually they reckon he was born actually between 6 and 4 BC. And then if you come, this is just something I was looking at, and then if you come down here on this little article, hopefully you can see it in the thing, they come up with a death date. So of course he was 33 when he died. Well, they come up with a death date of either AD 30 or AD 33. Well, interesting, isn't it? So that chart that I did with the, and saying 2030, that's very interesting, isn't it? Because that's the 33 years from Diana's death, and if they're saying that Jesus was probably born a few years earlier, that kind of ties in, because 4 years earlier, from 2001, would be when, the mother goddess died during childbirth, which is referenced, that's referenced in Star Wars, isn't it? When Luke and Leia are born, she dies. But that 4 years there, we can get back to 97, and then we're back up, and then 4 years on, we're to 2001, and that's the whole start, the start of the big kickoff of it all, and I don't know what else to say about it. Yeah, so 2030 is definitely a strong date for something fairly significant to happen. And again, if you go to the Odysseus reference, 2021, yeah, and the 50 Cent reference, I love it. But I can't think of any other. I've seen a few 21s pop up as well. So anyway, that's about done that one to death, I think. But there is no year zero either. So it's just at the start of, so at the end of one thing to the start of the next thing is a 1-1, which is interesting again. It's the 11 again. We're lacking the 0. I don't know what to say about it. I will explore this a little bit further, but no year 0. That's why we go straight to 2001 with the MM. Anyway, hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, bye.